Hello, Lotte.
Hello, Icon. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Thank you so much for agreeing to have this conversation with me. I know that you've been involved for quite a while with DTU Science Park, or Danish Technical University Science Park, and you were managing the mentorship program. So could you talk a little bit about your journey and how you ended up in that role?
Yes, I think, I've been working with communication, sales, marketing for like my whole career. I've been in a lot of different industries, and I've been like in the banking sector, private banking. I've been in a publishing company. I worked for a few production companies, and now I'm at a science park. And I think at one point I thought all these different industries was a disadvantage to my career. But I thought, Lotte, why don't you just stick to one industry and then, get to know that in depth. But today, working with mentoring, working with startups, I can see that the knowledge I have, the experience I have from different industries, sectors, working with different people from different backgrounds and different educations, etc., has helped me a lot to get to work with mentoring. Because here I see I meet a lot of different companies, a lot of different people. So actually today I'm quite pleased that I have worked with all these different companies and industries.
So has it been a very deliberate decision to take up this role and go into mentoring, or was it more like a serendipitous thing?
I think it was a serendipity thing. I had a colleague who has been starting up this program for the Science Park back in 2014. So we already had a very well-running program. But I saw, and then he was going away for a year. So I got the opportunity to take on the program, and I could see a possibility of scaling it. And that's what I thought was really, really interesting. So I had a great foundation to work from.
I love it. So I love the serendipitous thing, and also like starting not from scratch, but from a solid foundation.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about Danish Technical University and its Science Park and its mentorship program. What sets it apart from other mentorship programs?
Yeah. Well, I mean, as you mentioned, I work for DTU Science Park, which is Denmark's largest community for deep tech companies. And we are owned by the Danish Technical University, which is one of the leading technical universities globally. And we have here just over 300 companies who are located at the Science Park. So about 5,000 people get to work here every day. We are based at 2 different locations. So there are a lot of companies to cater for, and a lot of companies who are at different stages. We have a lot of startups because we also run some acceleration programs. Then we have a lot of scale-ups, and we also have some large corporate companies here. So you have all these different companies, and the mentoring has to sort of, when I say cater for all these different companies, or offer the possibility to become part of the mentor program. So we have a large community where we also, of course, have a lot of different events that are relevant for the deep tech companies at the Science Park. But a great offering in our community is the mentor program, because it's so specific, and it's very it's specific to the specific company. So we look at what needs does this company have, and then we work with them specifically on that. So it's not like an event you go to and it has to cater for everyone. No, when you get to the mentor program, it's your company we work with, and with the needs and the challenges that you have. So I mean, we've been working with it, as I mentioned, since 2014, and it's been a great success that we have had a lot of companies participating. We can see it makes a difference. And and I think this whole concept where we have a team mentoring concept, because you and I have talked about that before as well, team mentoring, where we have, when we match a company with a mentor, we actually match the company with 3 mentors. And that, of course, gives the company a unique chance to talk to different mentors on different subjects, but you also have the mentor meetings where you have these very dynamic discussions, because you don't just have one person sitting there telling you what to do. You have 3 very experienced people having discussions with you about the challenges you are facing. And I think that's a huge advantage of the program.
Is it like a very standard MIT venture mentoring service model, or have you added some flavors given the size of the organization?
Yeah, I mean, we from the MIT VMS, we have taken on the team mentoring concept with the 3 mentors, and then we are also very focused on structure being a key ingredient to the success of the companies of the mentor program, because I know there are a lot of also great mentor programs out there, but what I hear from the mentors is that, and also from the mentees, is that the structure that we keep focusing on and keep sort of fighting for also is a great part of the mentor program adding value to others. And I think those 2 aspects are very important from the MIT program. And then, of course, there are probably some cultural differences from the VMS system in the States and what we do in Denmark. But we do use the foundation from MIT a lot. We also have conversations with MIT a few times a year, or if we need to have something, we can call them. But I think, the MIT setup has been a crucial part of the success.
And from let's talk a little bit about specific experience. I just wanted to understand, given the size of the program, what are prerequisites if any, for a company to join the program? And then what does it look like? Is there some kind of an intake process, how rigorous it is, and then for how long the company stays in the program, and like what's the overall journey of the company in your mentorship program?
Well, we do accept companies who are located at the Science Park into the program. And then we also accept companies who participate in one of our acceleration programs. So actually, for the acceleration programs, the mentor program has become mandatory in the sense that if the startup already have a mentor program somewhere else, that's fine. We know that too much or too many sparring partners or advisors can also become too much. But again, we take it as being a mandatory part of that. Then the companies from the Science Park can choose to become part of the program, and luckily a lot of them do so. And what happens is that we have quite close dialogue with the companies. They are informed that the program exists, and then we have dialogue with them about what are their challenges. Does it make sense to become part of the mentor program? We talk about how we can help them. I mean, not what the mentors are going to do to talk to them about, but the setup. And we also talk a lot to them about what we sort of expect from their side, because the mentors are there on a voluntary basis and are happy to help them. But we also want to make sure that the companies are prioritizing meetings, are preparing for the meetings, because that's, again, a crucial part or an important part of it, that the companies are prepared. So we spend, and that's when we have this large program, and then when it becomes a large task, because we spend a lot of resources organizing it. We send like reminders for meetings. We send agenda templates for the companies to use for the meetings. We book meeting rooms. They can go and get coffee at a coffee shop here. And we stay in close contact with the companies and with the mentors. But we do take on this facilitation part because we can see that the mentors are busy, the startups or the companies are busy. So if we can prioritize that and we can help them do this, then we can also see that the mentoring goes on for a longer time. Because sometimes mentorships or mentor runs do turn to dust because, everyone are busy. But when we are keeping the close dialogue with them, when we are sort of giving them a friendly reminder that they need to have a new meeting, or are they interested in getting a new meeting, they often are interested, and then they sort of continue the mentorship. And when they continue, there's a larger chance that we can actually make a positive impact on the company. And we used to, in the past, when the program wasn't so big, we said that like a standard mentor run would be for 6 months, meaning that the mentors and mentees met up once a month. So that was 6 meetings in total. But what we can see now is that because we have so many like small startups, large or more mature startups or scale-ups in the program, they have different needs. And sometimes they need a mentor run for 3 months because they have a certain thing they would like to get some input to. And other times we have mentor runs that have been running for almost 2 years. And I think that's part of developing the program, that we can cater for these different needs from the mentees. And of course, then we need to involve the mentors in what kind of mentee is it that you are meeting, where are they on the maturity level. But yeah, so we spend times on getting the mentors ready to meet the different kind of companies.
How many companies are currently in the program? Is it all 300 or is it a smaller number?
No, I think at the moment there are about 70 active teams going on. So it's a lot of companies where you need to keep track on where are they? Are they getting close to like terminating the mentorship? Because that's actually one of the challenges we have at the moment, that sometimes we don't know that it's the last meeting that the mentors and mentees have. We have organized the meeting, but we are not part of all meetings because, again, like the resources that requires that it's not possible. So sometimes we don't know that right now this company has actually had the last meeting. So it's difficult. So how do we sort of round off in a way that's satisfying for all partners? Because sometimes they know it's the last meeting after the meeting has been going on. So suddenly we have mentors who are sort of unaware. Are we going to meet up with this company again, or are we not? Have they decided that was it, that was fine? So right now we are trying to work with how can we round these mentor runs off in a way that's sort of more satisfying than it's just sort of, okay, that was it, we're not going to meet each other again. And that's difficult when we have so many meetings. And I haven't got the solution. We are working on it right now, but it's definitely important that we find a solution.
What we've tried with Innovate Charlotte was setting certain milestones in the relationship. Like the first 3 months, we viewed it as a pilot to see if we are a good fit and if we can find the perfect team of mentors for this particular venture. Because usually the initial mentors are not like necessarily perfect, and the venture doesn't know what they're getting themselves into. But after 3 months, they know, and those adjustments could be made. And then we would give another 9 months. So it's a 1-year commitment to the program, at the end of which we would do a check-in and see if it makes sense to renew the relationship, or the company has accomplished what we wanted to do. And that kind of created a sense of like expectation of finality. So you know when the last meeting is scheduled and you kind of work according to that. Did it always work exactly like that? Probably not. So there are always like tweaks, but at least initially we started very open-ended and it didn't work either. So this idea of you having a specific time frame, which is not enforced necessarily, but it forces everyone to look back at this relationship and decide, does it make sense to continue?
Yeah. We have just decided that we're going to when we can see that the fourth meeting is coming up, we have decided to sort of just get in contact with the mentees to see where are you, and also really just to send them a few questions that we've decided will help them have a nice round off of the whole mentor run. So we'll send them questions, say, okay, we encourage you to discuss these questions at the last meeting, both for sort of giving the mentors a possibility to give like some last, not advice, but good ideas to consider when the mentor run is over. And also for them to talk about what could be maybe the next 3 important things to consider once the mentoring is over.
That makes a lot of sense. And how big is the team to manage those 70 plus ventures?
We are about 1.5 full-time employees. Yeah. Then, but then of course we have colleagues in the acceleration programs, you know, who are more business coaches for the startups, and they know these companies very well. So we have a lot of interaction with them about where are they, how can we best help, etc. And then there are other colleagues who, in some way or the other, are involved as well. But I would say 1.5 who work full time.
Okay, that's a lot of work for 1.5 people.
Yeah. It is, but I think that over the years, of course, we have gotten a lot of experience. We do have the structures that are in place are a huge help. Or, I mean, without those, it had not been possible. And again, a lot of the mentors in the program have also been part of the program for many years, and they're very engaged. So they also come to us with questions, or they come to us between meetings with information or with ideas of what to do. So the mentors are like, of course, I mean, they're the backbone of the company. If we didn't have the mentors, we had nothing to offer. But they're very engaged, and we gather the mentors about once 6-7 times a year. We gather all mentors, both for the networking, but also that's where we present new mentee cases, where they hear about them, what the challenges are. But it's also where we can have different subjects that we work with the mentors to solve. I just mentioned before this about how do we round off in the best possible way. We had like a whole workshop with the mentors about what to do, and they came with suggestions that we could take back and work with. So the mentors are also, besides being fantastic and engaged mentors, they're also very helpful to the program.
I see that a lot in the programs of that type. So what do you think is the reason for that high level of engagement? Because usually nonprofits and mentorship programs, they struggle engaging like high quality mentors, professionals, even retired folks to stay focused on this. So what's the secret of behind this engagement?
Yeah, I think, I mean, we have a survey once every 2 years where we ask, why are you part of this program? I mean, number one has been for the last years that the mentors want to give back. So of course, that's why they sort of in the first place get involved. Then they also say that they get a chance to become close to the latest technology and trends, and that's very fascinating for them as well. And of course, we have a lot of mentors also who are interested in finding maybe an investment case or being part of an advisory board, which they can do after the mentoring, get board positions, etc. But I also think that the way we work with close relations is a great or is an important part of why they stick to our program. We know them very well, and we also want to know not just their competences, but because of course that's important when we need to match them with the mentee, but we also want to know them as people. So besides these mentor gatherings we have where we look at matching mentors and mentees, we also have a yearly mentor dinner where we have where we just enjoy each other's company, have some food for thought as presentation. And the mentors, they say they learn so much from being mentors with other mentors. So this team mentoring concept is not only an advantage to the mentee, but the mentors get a lot of network out of it. And I think this network, and again, they see each other every other month at our gatherings, and then of course in between at a lot of mentor meetings. So they get very close to each other as well. And they like to work together. And we, I hope, also acknowledged their work and like let them know that they are very important, not just to the program, but to DTU Science Park. And again, structure. It's just a funny thing, and I know I love structure, but again, from the mentors, we hear that because we have the structure, they know when they come to a meeting that there is a meeting room, there is a company to meet. They do get the coffee, minor detail, but again, we spend resources on it and we prioritize to do it because we want to value their time.
And all those things like structure, knowing them personally, attention to detail, such as them coffee and a room and the founder in that room, and also giving them other cool people in the room. I found that this is universal across most mentorship programs. This is what drives engagement. And I wanted to ask in terms of success stories on the founder side, because it's really hard, like entrepreneurship is hard, and it's hard to demonstrate impact when you have, like, especially a shorter relationship, like 3 months, 6 months. So are there success stories that you're particularly excited about on the startup side of mentorship?
I think if I look into success stories, because as you say, it's really difficult to say we had this, we did this or had this impact on this company because they were here for 6 months. Maybe we did because one of our mentors helped them do something, or they gave them a contact that they could use. But I see the success when I look. We have a company at the moment who are part of the program for the 3rd time within 3 years. And why I mention it is because they have managed to use the program at the different levels where they are. So in the beginning, they were very young. They were students, just started this company, and they got matched with 3 mentors from us, and one of the mentors became a co-founder. And the next mentor team they had helped them with getting big investments. They helped them in actually pivot their whole business. And right now they have a mentor team within leadership, because now that they have scaled, they're at a point now where they're not a small startup any longer. They are at a different level, they're scaling. So right now they have mentors who have a lot of experience within leadership, who can not coach them, but still help them at another level with other or with other challenges. And I think that shows that the program has an impact because they keep coming back. We also had another company a couple of years ago who's very successful. I can't mention them, but they have succeeded in getting many millions of dollars in funding And their CEO had the mentors guiding him in how to structure the company, how to move on with a very deep tech company who had a long way to the market. And today's two of the mentors are part of the management and board of that company. So I know the mentors do make a difference, and we do often see that mentors become part of either boards or advisory boards after the mentoring. But we do say to them, while you're a mentor, you cannot also be part of the advisory board or board, etc. Or you cannot invest in the companies while you're a mentor. Then you're a mentor because we want it to be completely unbiased.
And thank you for sharing those examples. And it's cool when the program has been around for a while to tell stories like that.
Yeah.
For a program that is getting started, or for a program that is looking for some leading indicators of impact to tell the story to stakeholders, to funders, what would your advice be? How can we show success before we have like tangible success, like the stories that you share?
Yeah, but I think it probably is. I mean, we measure all. I mean, every time there's been a mentor run consisting of either 3 or 6 or however many meetings, we always evaluate them. So we ask mentors and mentees to score like on the NPS scale. So we're sort of tracking that. But I think that the again dialogue with the mentees. What have you experienced? What value have you experienced? What did you get out of a specific meeting? I mean, I sometimes meet a company in the canteen or wherever, you know, and they say, we just had a meeting with our mentors. They said that, we discussed this, and now we're definitely going to do this or that. And I think, so that is not like looking back on 6 months or a year's progress, but I see it in their eyes. I can see it motivates them, and I can see they act on whatever was discussed in a certain mentor meeting. And that, I think, is success you can measure.
I agree with you. That's something we did with Innovate Charlotte's program, like measuring feedback from mentors, founders, and measuring net promoter score consistently, and then coming back with that feedback to specific people who gave it.
I mean, of course, it's great to be able to measure an NPS score. That's great and give you an idea of whether you have something that is useful or at least whether people want to recommend it. But I think that the qualitative data we get, to me, are much more valuable, because you get an insight into what a certain mentee has experienced and whether it has moved them or not. So when we have evaluations, I always dig a lot into the qualitative responses.
I agree with you 100%. And actually, qualitative responses could be repackaged as stories.
Yeah.
I know we can talk about the mentorship program being such a unicorn and lovely thing. Everybody loves it. Founders, mentors, the community, everybody wants to support it. But in reality, this is a human organization. There are a lot of challenges on the way, different phases of different groups. So I wanted to ask you about the specific hurdle that you came across while running the mentorship program and how you overcame it.
I think in the beginning, when we had the program, all companies that were participating in the program were companies at the science park. And they were sort of, they were not very early stage. They were sort of, again, not mature company, but they had been around for a couple of years and they knew what business they were doing and why they were doing it, etc. Then back in 2018-19, we started accepting startups from our acceleration programs into the program. And eventually we also offered mentoring to researchers from the university. And that was a completely different story to what the mentors had been used to. working with. So this challenge with suddenly having ventures with very different maturity levels was definitely a challenge that we had to face and to do something about. So we started, when we had the mentor gatherings, we spent time on communicating to the mentors. We have these companies, they're part of this program. We invited program managers from the different acceleration programs to come and present to the mentors what kind of program are these companies involved in, what do we expect for them, how can you use that in the mentoring. And that was also where we found out that we could not just offer or expect every company to take on 6 months of mentoring, because it simply didn't fit in to where they were. Some were so early that we found out after 2 meetings, okay, now you sort of have an idea of where to go. We round off here, and others we could see, okay, after 6 months, they were just getting started, just getting to know the mentors. So we just continued. So I think we have sort of, so it's very much about maturity level. That has been a challenge, but we have overcome it by communicating a lot and also saying, okay, we want structure, but we also need to be agile. Yeah.
And I love that example and challenging the approach of bringing in people who run those programs into your mentorship program. And wanted to follow up, how does mentorship program fit into the ecosystem inside the university and inside the community where you are located?
Well, right now we run mentoring at DTU Science Park, for, as I said, for companies who are located here. So these are registered companies and companies from the acceleration programs. The mentoring for researchers and students is now taking place at the university, simply because we realized that we have never had students at part of our program. They're part of what goes on at the university. But in respect to the researchers, we found out that it's different needs, and the mentoring has to go on in different aspects. So that's taking place at the university. But we do have ecosystem meetings where we have different partners from the university. I participate, program manager from the mentor program participates, and that's where we sort of discuss challenges and inspire each other and talk about, of course, okay, we're looking for a mentor within this industry with this experience. Do you know someone? And then, of course, we help each other. So we work quite close together.
And could you talk a little bit about that mentoring at the university? Is it similar to this VMS model, or is it something completely different?
It's not completely different, because I think they're also very inspired by the MIT model. So I know they're continuing the team mentoring concept. And a lot of the mentors who are part of our program are also mentoring at the university. Some of them are interested in working with both companies and with researchers or students. So we work
like 2 programs essentially.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a very cool insight in terms of separating depending on maturity of the organization. I wanted to follow up in terms of technology stack, and I'm a little bit biased as a vendor of technology for VMS programs, but what have you found as an optimal solution for your program? What technology have you used, and what are the things that you love about your current setup, and what are the things where you would like to see some improvement in the future?
Yeah. I think we use a lot of different systems to have it all tied up and connected. We use Podio for having where we have a database with all mentors and mentees, and where we can keep track on when do they have meetings, and which mentors are connected with what company, etc. So that's fine, but it can't stand alone. So we also have an Excel sheet where we have the overview of meetings going on, and that's where we also have a look and say, okay, where can we see there are gaps where, okay, we see here this company hasn't had a meeting since March. We need to get in contact with them. So that's bit manual. Then, of course, we work, I think most mentor programs does work with doodles. So when we try to arrange every mentor meeting as the last part of a mentor meeting. So before everyone leaves the room, we say, okay, when should we meet up next time? And that works fine. But of course, it doesn't always happen. And again, at one point, you need to start the mentoring and you need to get the very first mentor meeting in place. And that's where we use doodles, which in most cases works fine. But sometimes it takes a few doodles in order to get a date where everyone can participate. And then lastly, we use Outlook, for booking meetings. And I think that works fine because everyone knows Outlook. Everyone works with it. I mean, we all have our calendar. So I think that's probably the easiest part because everyone use it. Of course, they don't all need to use Podio, or they don't all, most need to figure out how a doodle works. So so a lot of different programs. That's probably not ideal. It probably takes up too many resources, but for now it works. And it also works with having a lot of ventures in the program at the same time. But I know that you, Eiko, has a lot better solution that we should use.
I'm not saying you should use, but I think all the things that you talked about have been addressed. And especially the scale, when you are at 15 organizations, you can do with all the tools that you listed. When you are at 70, I feel things will start to slip. It's just hard to enforce the process. And I look forward to talking more about that. But I wanted to ask, there are some organizations that are getting started, and you've had quite a journey on that path. So what advice would you give to a new organization, especially affiliated with the university, but not necessarily, who wants to adopt this team mentorship model? What are the things they should consider to increase their chances of success?
I mean, one thing, they should definitely go for the team mentoring concept. Having more than one mentor being in a team, definitely, because it gives dynamic discussions. It's much more interesting for the specific mentor, and it also gives the mentee a lot broader insight into possible solutions to whatever challenge they have. Then structure, definitely. Don't underestimate what you can do in terms of helping both mentors and mentees with structure. As I said, whether it's inviting to mentor meetings, booking rooms, etc., it just takes a lot of workload from them. So do that, and then I say take on the facilitation part. Know that when you do that, you help them. And when I say facilitation, I mean both in regards to, again, practicalities as to booking meetings or whatever, but also in respect of participating in meetings. When we started this program, my colleague who was running at the time participated in all mentor meetings. That was fantastic. He knew all the time what was going on, where the venture was, etc. Of course, that's not possible when you have 70 ventures running at the same time. But make sure to always be there at the first meeting. That's important, because that's when you can sort of make sure that everyone are aligned. What are we going to do what do we think we're going to do for the next 6 months? Then maybe you're going to discuss other subjects as time passes. But make sure you're there, and everyone knows what expected from each other and from yourself.
But I love you bringing up the point about attending meetings. I found that to be extremely helpful, because just reading
Yeah.
those snippets and reports doesn't tell you the picture, doesn't tell you the dynamics, it doesn't tell
Mm.
you if it's a functional group or not really functional group.
Try, if possible, to insist on physical meetings for at least the first meeting. I mean, during COVID, we were tested big times, but we managed to have mentor meetings going on via Zoom as today. That's fine, but it's just, if you want to get people to get engaged and to wanting to make a difference and be motivated, you need to meet up. You need people to meet physically the first time at least. And that's also what I hear from both mentors and mentees. I mean, from the mentors, they want to sort of be able to feel, where is this person, or where are the founders? And for the founders, because we say to the founders, if you want to have the mentors help, you need to be open about what's difficult. And I think it's really difficult to be open about what's difficult if you're sitting behind a screen, because you haven't got an idea whether your people you're talking to are actually there for your sake. Are they really wanting to help me? Because you can't feel that. There's no chat over the coffee or whatever. So physical meetings.
In terms of, and just to follow up on those administrators being in the middle of the meetings and kind of building the deeper relationships with the program and with the mentors. Like, once you uncover some challenges on the team, like the mentors are not particularly helpful, or the founder is not a good fit, and those challenges are obvious to you when you observe them, but they're not coming through communications and reports. Have you come across such situations? And what should the program do to address those kind of disconnects?
As I said, you sometimes get an idea already at the first meeting. Oh, there's something here I need to be aware of. Then I would talk to we always assign a lead mentor. So one of them has the responsibility of facilitating the meetings if we are not there. So I would talk to the lead mentor saying, we need to be aware of this. I also send, if I sense that the mentee is not completely happy, or doesn't seem comfortable, I'll reach out to them after the meeting, say, okay, is there something here that's not as you expected or whatever? We have a talk about that. And if there is a mismatch, we will change we'll change one mentor. If it's one mentor, there's just like the chemistry is not there, we will say, okay, then we find another mentor. It can also be that the mentee expected a mentor with a certain competence that they don't feel is there. Then we sort of say, okay, we find someone else. And it's something we talk with the mentors about when we have these mentor gatherings, that being you say picked out of a mentor team again, or being asked to say, okay, now you've been in this team for 3 meetings, now the mentee need another competent. That's okay. I mean, it's difficult. It's not something you think is fantastic you need to do, but we do it. And also, I think with the mentors, if it's something I experience, if there's a mentor who's very direct and I can see the mentee is not comfortable about that, I'll always contact the mentor straight after the meeting and have a talk about it, and just say, this is not how we sort of help the mentee the best if we proceed like this. So again, it's about being open that this is just an issue. It is, and everyone knows it is. It's not easy, because we want everyone to be happy and we just want things to sort of be fine all the time, but it's not.
I just recognized there is one important question I wanted to ask, and I appreciate you sharing. Like, we talked about the mentorship, the context, and we talked about the model and your experience. But the question I get asked sometimes about this type of mentorship programs is, who pays for this fun? Because mentors are having fun, founders are having fun, but there should be a funder. In your case, I understand that this is the Science Park or the university who are allocating a budget for the program. Like, is getting funded, like for a lot of organizations, it's a challenge to continuously fund the mentorship program and fund the people who are running it and to fund the things that you need to grow and scale the mentorship program. How have you learned to address this and ensure that the program is properly funded and can grow?
I think, or not think, it is a deliberate decision of DTU Science Park that we want to spend resources on this, because we rent out office space or labs or whatever to companies. And we want to, as you say, we want to help them faster to the market. And in order to do that, we need to do more than just renting out office space. And this is an offering that we can give them, we think makes a huge positive impact. So we have decided to spend resources on this. So it's a cost, but the Science Park has decided that that's part of that's a cost we want to take on in order to help the companies at the Science Park. And they are pretty surprised, the companies or the founders, when we talk to them and they find out, is it for free? Say, yes, it's for free.
No, thank you. Thank you for sharing. But now it makes sense. It fits into the model.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that I haven't asked you, but you wanted to talk about?
I mean, maybe to other program managers or people having to run this program, I'll just say, I mean, if you're in doubt, go for it, because it does make a huge difference, and it is so rewarding also to you as responsible for the program, because everyone are so engaged. The mentors are so engaged. The mentees are working with maybe their life project. So it's, I mean, working with entrepreneurs, working with founders is, very rewarding. And even though it's difficult to measure the impact in the long run, you just know from meetings that you make a difference. So yeah, that's fantastic.
Thank you so much, Lotte. Really enjoyed our conversation with you.
It was great. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for reaching out.